Hey, MG hockey community. Thanks for viewing our second episode of Silver Eagle Snapshots. Our goal with this series is to provide you some hockey content as well as revisit some memorable moments and players through our featured guests that were part of MG hockey history. With us tonight, I want to introduce a couple of our staff members. First of all, Assistant Coach Ron Hall is with us. Ron helped us in a number of roles with the JV and varsity, and also did a lot of work with our off-ice conditioning program. Ron, you want to say hi?
How you doing, everyone? Glad to be back.
Leading the show tonight is Head Coach Kinsler, who's going to introduce our featured guests. I'm going to turn it over to Head Coach Kinsler right now.
Thanks, Sean. Tonight we got Tyler Patton. Tyler Patton is a 2016 MG graduate. He most recently is a UW-Madison graduate, which is congratulations there, Tyler. I really appreciate that you've gone on and you're going to be a productive citizen in society. Good for you. Tyler was a 4-year varsity letter winner while he was at Monona Grove. He was captain his senior year. He was a Hobie Baker winner. He was a Badger Conference first team hockey player at MG. He was also honorable mention All-State his senior year. So I give you Tyler Patton.
How's it going, everyone?
Can you briefly describe your playing career? Just give us another little overview.
For sure, yeah.
Highlights for you.
Just personally played hockey basically all my life up until this last year even. As a kid, always played for the Patriots. Once in 8th grade, I played up with a lot of people that were like a year older than me, so they all left for high school in Monona Grove. So I ended up actually playing for the Madison Capitals AAA team for 1 year during 8th grade. And then that was a lot of fun. After that, got to go to Monona Grove, got to play hockey for high school, which I always wanted to do, and just kind of play with a bunch of friends, a lot of guys that I knew. And even up until this day, after I graduated, I couldn't give up hockey. So played intramural hockey for 6-7 semesters here at UW-Madison. So got to go out basically one night a week for 6-8 weeks during each semester, and just lace the skates back up and get out there and play with a bunch of friends.
That's awesome.
So, Tyler, you described a little bit about coming to Monona Grove and et cetera. So how could you, if you were had a young person in front of you, how would you describe MG hockey? How could you put MG hockey into words?
Yeah, MG hockey overall was a thing that I just loved and enjoyed all throughout all my 4 years. The people that you meet throughout it is incredible. You don't appreciate it in the moment, but all the stuff that the parents do for you, getting sandwiches, getting you to practice when you need to, making sure that you have everything for all your games. Appreciate all of that a lot, and they're just always willing to help you out. As far as the players in the locker room goes, just always willing to have a good time. Rarely did I go to practice and I was just like, oh man, that was a terrible day. I just don't want to go back tomorrow. It was always just fiending for more, getting with the teammates, seeing the coaching staff, all that little camaraderie that you build, those little inside jokes that you build as a team throughout the year. Just really nothing beats it. And outside of the locker room, you always see, you gain those friendships that you gain for a long time. And whether it was walking through the hallways at school, you're able to say hi to all those people, or even after that, you build those relationships and connect with those people later down the road, whether it's you get to follow them on all of their social media and kind of see all of their own personal successes that may not align exactly with yours, but just getting to see them succeed and kind of where life takes them and all just the different paths that can take you is just interesting to see. But yeah, just an amazing experience, both inside and outside the locker room, and builds those bonds for you.
That's awesome.
Excellent.
Do you have like a specific? I like to get into like MG, right? Like playing for MG, it was so great. What was? Do you have like one memorable experience or game time experience that you remember? You know, wearing Monona Grove blue.
Yeah, absolutely. My sophomore year, when we were a very talented team, won conference. In the playoffs, we were playing for our first game, Madison Memorial, and I had actually previously played with a couple of their players and whatnot and knew some of them pretty well. But that game ended up going into a tie, I think at 2-2 into overtime. And in the overtime, just got to score that game-winning goal. And I just remember like the rush of just the satisfaction, like all that hard work that kind of pays off. And a lot of that was washed away by the next week when we played Verona and lost 3-2 to the to-be state champions, Verona Wildcats. But that prior game felt like just on top of the world. You show up to school the next day, just everyone's like, hey, it was at that game. Stands were just packed and stuff. So never forget it. And then I'll never forget that game that followed that as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah. At least you didn't bring up all the disallowed goals in the Verona game. We won't bring that part up. But yeah, that was
we know all too well.
Yeah, that was a memorable experience for everyone. Yes, absolutely. So Tyler, one of the attributes that I think highly of you was your leadership ability, and all the way from a freshman through your senior year, and your uncanny ability to be able to, be with older guys and be able to lead younger guys. In fact, other coaches have alluded to that too. I'm curious, as a person yourself, do you recall any of the leadership opportunities that you had from freshman through senior year and how it may have carried over into your collegiate life, et cetera?
Yeah. I would say one of the memorable things is, I don't remember, might have been my junior year. We were starting the classroom kind of series where we would meet after school and just allocate an hour or two just for students to get some homework done and whatnot. And I wasn't necessarily required to go to some of those. And I was still showing up to some of them just to kind of be there and show some of those teammates that, hey, we're not all better just because we don't have to show up to this one thing. We're all in this together kind of thing. And just being there for your teammates, even when you're not necessarily needed, but just kind of giving that background presence to them, and showing that you are supportive of them. And I guess probably just one other one was Toby was trying to get together throughout the summer and get some morning workouts in. I think we started at 6 a.m. or something. We started at MG. It was just a terrible hour of the morning that, as a high school student, a lot of people don't want to show up for. I'm going to be brutally honest. But showing up for those, even when I did play football and we would have strength and conditioning after that, I would actually sometimes do 3 hours of some sort of workout, and just showing up at that 6 a.m. just to be there with those people to say, hey, we can all get through this. It's an hour out of our day to get out there and get active, even when we're not needed to, and in the middle of summer when we could just be sleeping in and eating Cheetos,
That's great. One of the things we talk about, at MG and playing hockey is athleticism, and we encourage, the guys to go out and play different sports and to be involved in different things. Did you play other sports, and what role did that play in like the success of your hockey career?
Yeah. So I actually played both football and baseball, and played varsity or freshman through varsity sports on all of those. So got a lot of exposure just to different coaches and how they present information and how they treat other situations within a locker room or within a group of people. So it just gives you a lot of exposure into the communication aspect, but also it trains a lot of, in the more physical aspect, it trains a lot of muscles that you don't focus on for hockey. and makes you more well-balanced and more well-rounded. And lastly, it makes you think about a game in a completely different way. So when you're playing baseball, it's not always go, go, go. You're thinking about where's the next play going to be,
right?
Or where in football, you got 20 seconds to think about, okay, here's a couple threats that I could have if I'm playing defense. What can happen here? And it helps you recognize a lot of the plays in the other sports a lot quicker, just getting used to making those decisions early and often. And all of it definitely carries over. Being specialized in one thing is really hard to do, and just expanding your horizon into different muscle groups, different groups of people will go a long way in the long run.
You're speaking my language. That's great.
Yeah.
One of Sean's questions that he has sent across, and somehow we technically have lost him, but he was part of the gig when you were there, and he was wondering, since you alluded to the fact that you won a championship as a sophomore, and you earned several individual awards at MG. Based on your playing experience, what advice would you give those players who are weighing AAA options versus playing at MG? Because obviously, Sean may not know it, and a lot of people might not know it, but you could have easily played Capitals all 4 years while you're at Monona Grove, and you chose not to do that.
Yeah. One of the biggest things is definitely the camaraderie that you build. Without playing hockey at MG, you just don't get to know a lot of those faces that you see every single day for 4 years. Secondly, as I alluded to earlier, I played for the Capitals for 1 year. There's a lot of travel. You're missing Fridays all the time. You're away from home on the weekends. It's a weekend trip down to Chicago, a weekend trip over to Michigan. And all those opportunities are really fun. I don't regret them at all, but just being on a bus or driving 3 states over does take a toll. You miss a lot of being with your friends, even not in hockey, right? You miss all those weekend day trips that your friends take, and all those, hey, let's go down to the park and shoot some hoops or something like that. And I think secondly, there's a lot of opportunities to play AAA hockey outside of the high school season, like Team Wisconsin. Go if you want to try out for something like that. There's Wheel, and a lot of summer leagues. I don't want to discourage people from doing it, because for some people it is the right thing. But it's definitely something. Weigh your options. Do you want to be gone all those weekends? Do you want to give up that camaraderie that you're going to see in school, and a lot of those people that you're going to see for 4 years, and even after that, because you live within the same school district for 4 years, 8 years, you're going to see them at the same colleges in the same Wisconsin area, unless they go far, or you tend to go far. So it's definitely something that you want to weigh, but just think of the pros and cons. And personally, I was just like, I really want to play high school hockey and just get kind of that. You don't get a student section in AAA. So that's one of the biggest things. You don't get those kind of fans and that surrounding in a normal AAA setting.
Absolutely. In college, can you think of an obstacle that you had to overcome, that your MG hockey experience might have helped you overcome that?
Yeah. So in college, I actually ended up working for the recreational sports division and became a lead supervisor after 2 years. So in that role, I got to basically take over our ice hockey intramural program and teach officials how to officiate hockey. And so probably one of the biggest things is a lot of the people that I worked with were specialized in soccer, basketball, those large sports. And I was an integral part of just keeping the program moving, because people didn't know how to referee hockey, how the game was played. And being able to MG hockey taught me how to speak to both people that were superior to me or people that were younger than me, and how to approach those groups of people differently, and how you can break down a very complicated sport that might seem at first into words that everybody can understand. If I needed help, there was no one to really turn to that was a hockey expert. So I had to give them clear and concise guidelines. Hey, this is what I need you to do. Whereas if an incoming first year student at MG doesn't know what they're doing at the Sun Prairie Hockey Camp and we have 8 hours of hockey all day, hey, I need you to go here at this time, be back at this time, and be able to lay out those guidelines. So it definitely just helped me with my overall communication and how to approach different groups of people.
That's great.
That's really good. I'm going to go off the list that you might have gotten there a little bit. I don't think a lot of people, obviously you graduated 4 or 5 years ago, and one of the things that we've always wanted players to be able to do is be able to play any position at any given time, maybe with the exception of goaltending, right? And there's special people that do that. But you were thrown into the abyss your senior year, and the gig is like you had to really step up for the team and move positions. And I was curious how after reflection, after a few years of looking at that, pros and cons either way. I mean, your feelings about that and how it worked out.
Yeah. When both you and Toby and everyone and Joe came to me and was just like, hey, we're going to think about playing you at defense, I kind of just like went home that night. I was like, well, never done that before. This could be a 20-loss season. But no, it ended up working out well. And just in retrospect, it was probably one of the best things I could have done. It's something that I was super uncomfortable with. I have probably played a total of 30 minutes of defense in my entire career of hockey. And it makes you have to adapt and change and think about things differently. It's a completely different game playing on the blue line than below the goal line. Just grinding it out. There's a lot of time and space, and people are coming down on you 4-on-2, and you're skating backwards, and they're skating full speed at you, and you're like, well, where do I go with this? But it really makes you assess, hey, what do I need to get better at, and how can I do it in the best way possible, and how can I do it quickly? Which pays off after high school sports a lot. Just in college, you get thrown into, hey, I've got these exams, I've got 15 credits. How am I going to manage this stuff? I have no idea what I'm doing. That kind of thing. But just in retrospect, I enjoyed it. Like, it was something that the team needed me to do, and that I was like uncomfortable with at first, but I just needed to go out there and give it my all. It was just kind of like a thing that's not awesome, but you got to do it to get by.
That's great.
But I don't regret it at all in any sense.
Well, it's good it hasn't scarred you the rest of your life.
It taught me to play old man's a little bit better.
True that. Absolutely.
A question from Sean was, what other players from youth hockey or your time at MG do you stay connected with to this day?
Yeah, I was definitely really close with the grade above me. So probably the main 5 for Matthew Dutcher, Jordan Gerathanis, Drew Schuchart, and Derek Provenzano. I talk to regularly every week, probably still. But other people just within the same grade, Garrett Huberts, we ended up going to both at UW-Madison together and actually studying the same major. So I've been hanging out with him probably 3 days a week for the past 4 years still. And Alex Baldwin, who's still in the vicinity doing his own thing with the lawn care company, go out and he actually lives downtown now. So I've seen him multiple times a week for the past 2 years and whatnot. But just those relationships, again, you can't emphasize it enough. You get to know this core group of people, and you get so close with them because you're spending 5 days a week with practice and games. You just don't gain it anywhere else.
That's awesome. That's great. Garrett ran track. Why didn't you run track?
You'd
have been a great vaulter.
What's actually really funny is, Garrett ran track and cross country, and we've actually started running every single day for the past like 4 weeks. So, and he's just out there dusting me. And I'm like, Garrett, you got to slow down, man. I can't do this. I'm not a runner.
Tell him Hull thinks he would have been a good pole vaulter.
Ugh. All right, I'll tell him that.
Tell him that.
Do you know Grant Nelson then too?
Oh yeah, Grant was one of my pole vaulters. Yeah.
I know. That's why I said it.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, this guy told me I should pole vault now.
Yeah, he was. Oh man, he was a
That's
great
funny.
kid. Great vaulter.
Yeah, well, if the baseball team would have missed Tyler big time.
Yeah, I wouldn't heard that one.
So, to bring it all together and et cetera, your time playing football, playing baseball at Monona Grove, playing hockey at Monona Grove. You've alluded to some of the things in college, and I'm really glad you brought up club sports and running the officious thing, because as a person sitting on the outside watching you and doing those things, what a great experience to be able to be involved in intramural hockey. I'm curious about, did you ever experience or hang out or look at club hockey at all at UW-Madison? Because I don't think people realize it's a real big step up, and intramurals at UW-Madison, there's actually several layers of that also. I wonder if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I can. So with my job, I was actually like a liaison and had to go with the club sports. So I actually know a lot about the club hockey program. And the club hockey program here is actually really competitive. They were top 10 in the nation, I think, for a while this year for the men's team. And it's a great opportunity. You get to travel. You get to play like 2-game series on the weekends against like Minnesota, Michigan, St. Thomas club teams. And the competition's really stiff. It's a lot of those people that didn't want to give up 2 years after high school to play junior hockey, and they just want to come to college and do their degree, but they would still want to be involved at a high level. But the competition's really good. You get a lot of all-state selections in high school. It's funny because you get to kind of team up with some of those people like, wow, we played against this guy and he was really good. But there's like there's a tryout process for it, and you get sweet like Under Armour jerseys. It's a really tight-knit community. You practice, I believe for the hockey program, they practice twice a week at the Shell here. At other schools, it could obviously be very different. But you practice usually twice a week. And a lot of it's student run. Like you vote on a president and a vice president. So there's a lot of like leadership within the club that if you're looking for more opportunities to get involved. And I think kind of to go back and hit on why didn't I play any club hockey? I was just kind of like, I wanted to, but I also was really focused on just my academics. And I think it was just something that I weighed. And I was like, I don't really know how school is going to impact me my first year. And I don't want to overwhelm myself that first year. And I just kind of got in a groove where I was like playing intramurals, but also starting to get this job where I could get involved in hockey in more ways. Cause I couldn't just give up hockey, but getting involved in a way where I was teaching other people hockey, just kind of fit my lane the best. But there's definitely a really competitive league out there for club sports, and I highly recommend it because it's really fun. I have a couple friends that actually play on it.
Speaking of that, so always a competition for a lot of people when they go to college is how many intramural championship T-shirts can one get while in college? And I was wondering, did you earn any intramural championship T-shirts? Or did you just take them out of the box when they were handing them out?
I wish. I did have to hand too many out to those people that beat me. But I won 3 or 4 from hockey, and then actually picked up ultimate frisbee this fall just for the fun of it. And somehow we won it in the A-League. And what's good about intramurals is it's skill for every level. So you can always get involved. And like for our hockey, there's an A, B, and C league. So one of my friends actually played Capitals growing up for all through high school. And he ends up getting 10 friends together that have never played hockey before. And they join the C league. And so they're just out there running into walls like Mighty Mites out there. But he's out there just having a blast with his friends, just getting active and just can't get away from the game. So that's awesome to see. But even the A League is, again, people that don't want to commit to the club program, but they can't give up hockey once a week. So they're out. You play a lot of those kids from Kettle Moraine, U School, a lot of some of those up north schools that are really good too. You'll just see random. It's funny. Everyone wears their own high school helmets, so you try and compare it. All right, who did that kid play for? And then you go look them up on Prep Hockey after or something like that. Like, oh yeah, I beat him back here, or you beat me.
We'd like to thank you, everyone, for watching our MG Hockey Silver Eagles snapshots tonight. We want to thank Tyler Patton for contributing to our success of this great new endeavor that we have going on. Tyler, again, congratulations on your 4-year graduation from UW-Madison, which is not an easy task. And you're going to Chicago to work at, in computer and network engineering. And good for you. We will always keep you in mind, and don't forget about us, please. I know that your parents still live in Cottage Grove, but don't be afraid to come back and share your wisdom and thoughts. And I know that Garrett drove up from Rockford from an internship to help us with the alumni game as an official, but would love to have you come and do that next year with us again. Hopefully COVID-19 doesn't affect us and we actually get to play the game of hockey again next year. But thank you. Thanks for sharing your insight. Thank you for sharing your time with us. Really appreciate it.
For sure, yeah. Thanks a bunch. It was a lot of fun.
Bye, guys.